As a real estate advisor, I often have people asking me, where are people moving to Salt Lake City from? I think in Salt Lake City, we have become spoiled. We've been spoiled over the last 100 years because Salt Lake City has been off the beaten path, just a little tucked away gem, like a special little city where outdoor recreation was just everywhere you looked. It was an affordable city, and you could definitely find everything you needed for a very reasonable price. Living here was very, very nice that way. Although, if you're a cosmopolitan person, maybe you had some drawbacks in that area. So, talking about where the immigration in Salt Lake City comes from, and Utah in general, is a great way to kind of understand some of the effects, the economic effects that we're seeing in especially the housing market with all of the people moving here from elsewhere. So let's talk about where these people are coming from and why that would raise prices the way it has. As you move down the scale, what you start to notice is that we get more and more immigrants coming from the younger ages. Between 45 and 20 to 24 is the biggest section of immigrants here. So the people who are moving here are younger, and they tend to be a little bit more diverse because you have to take into account the fact that some of these people are from out of the country too. But looking at this data, what she's saying is that roughly 130,000 people, almost the size of West Valley, have moved here in the last year. So a quarter of the immigrants were born in Utah and returned after a previous move. And there were almost 95,000 domestic out migrants. And then she says, if you look at the bigger picture, almost 40% of those currently living in Utah were not born in Utah, indicating a sustained longer-term trend of immigration. And then if you look at the immigrants not born in Utah coming here, only 67% of those people are white alone, 18% of those people are Hispanic, 3% are two races, and then we have like kind of a smattering of other things here, but the next biggest one I would say is 7% at Asian. And what that tells us is that Utah is diversifying. We're getting younger people and they're a little bit more diverse, which definitely adds to the flavor of the city, making it a much more interesting and fun place to be. Top origins of migrants moving to Wasatch Front from out of state, the great majority are California. And then we have some places like Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, Texas, Missouri, Illinois, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York. So really kind of all over the place. But I would say, looking over the data in my own time, that the great majority of people are moving here from California, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Idaho, Nevada, Arizona, and Colorado. And the sort of exception to this Intermountain West states would be Texas and Florida, is where we're getting the great majority of anyone who's not from the Intermountain West. The rest of those places, there's just a tiny smattering, really. And then the interesting thing about that is that we have almost, not quite, we still have a net positive immigration, but we still have quite a few people moving to the same places from Utah. Deseret News does a great job of kind of boiling this down for us. It says, not just Californians, new report outlines who is moving to Utah. Utah was the fastest growing state between 2010 and 2020 censuses, largely because more people moved into the state than out of it. So 6 California counties account for the 10 most origin locations for movers to Utah, but also Clark County, Nevada, home to Las Vegas. That produced the plurality of net migrants into Utah between 2015 and 2019. If you take all of Utah, like all of these places, we have Bear River, Central Utah, Southeast Utah, Southwest Utah, Uinta Basin, Wasatch Back, Wasatch Front, really all of these people are coming from very similar places. If you look over all of this data, what you'll see is that by and large, it's international, Idaho, Arizona, California, Washington, New Mexico, Colorado, all the places we've already talked about. That's where these people are coming from. So there are definitely some Californians coming here, and those people are used to a much higher cost of living, which means that when they come here, they're able to afford a little bit more and they feel like they can live a little bit more extravagantly. If you make $70,000 in Los Angeles and you move to Utah, you will be able to have $20,000 left over and have the same standard of living. So that is part of what has brought prices up. You have people offering cash. Say you sold a house in Los Angeles at $1.5 million and you see a house here for $500,000, offering another $50,000 is still quite a deal for you because you're used to paying $1.5 million instead of $550,000. And that really brought prices up really fast during the pandemic. I'm sure you can see how. So you can see that there are a lot of people moving from a lot of different places. There's been a lot of upward pressure on prices because we have net immigration. We've got more people moving here than we have people leaving here. So it's not even necessarily that Utahns themselves are having bigger families, that sort of thing. It's just that people are moving here. And I think if we broke it down further, we'd find that things like Silicon Slopes and just the fact that we have some of the lowest unemployment in the country and things tend to be pretty stable here. And we also have a fantastic city for accessing outdoor adventures. It's hard to beat that because that's a quality of life issue, and people these days are much more interested in experiences than almost anything else. But if you are moving here from elsewhere, I would love to hear from you. I really enjoy connecting with people like you who are trying to get where you need to be. It's my passion to help you get the very best deal and show you how we can set you up for the future. And I really want to thank David R. and Corey T. and Heather P. for reaching out to me since the last video. We are definitely going to get you where you need to go. Until next time.